my God.
Who do you think's the best female boxer of all time?
Some people need to go there mentally to be able to fight.
Yeah, exactly.
This is my job. You are a job tonight.
It's Max Calangelo, and today I'm with Fighting Yo. I have with me Elia Carranza as well as Jack Rubin for the interview.
What's going on, fight fans?
How are you? Thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate it, man. I'm super glad to be here.
Of course, we're really looking forward to it. You know, you've looked absolutely tremendous in all of your recent bouts, but some breaking news. You're going to be the first female promoter in the sport of boxing. Tell us about that, how great that is for you.
Well, I do love that. I appreciate that accolade, right? But I'm not. There's actually a couple females out there that have done some great things, including my promoter. My promoter's M&R Boxing. She is from down here. They're Cuban, but they have a promotion that they host a lot of shows down here. So shout out to M&R Boxing. But yeah, I'm actually the second female down here to be doing this, and I'm super excited. Female or not, I'm just a sport of boxing. Like, I'm a fan of the sport of boxing, so I'm excited to be able to put on a card and put on a great show. But yeah, man.
We're looking forward to it. Do you feel that because you've been a fighter and you fought in there, you relate to the fighters that you'll be promoting better than a lot of these other promoters who've never stepped foot in the ring?
Oh, completely, man. To me, that's what I'm most excited about. I know that we're going to be doing a lot of different things for the fighters, even on fight night, before fight night, that it just kind of like makes it easier for them. For me, it's not just making a promotion and being like, hey, everybody come to this fight, have a great show. I want to make sure that the fighters are great. We have pro debuts, we have prospects, and it's like I want to treat them the way I didn't get treated my first few fights, you know, where it's like you're just struggling to make it, struggling to get on these cards, and I vowed that when I finally got to this point where I could host shows and make a promotion, that I was going to treat these fighters well, and I was going to make sure that they knew that they're special, and we're going to treat you as such.
Right. So your promotion is going to be pro-sanctioned?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, so you said a lot of pro debuts. Is there any names that you want to call out that we should be looking forward to if ever you're first?
Dude, all of them, man. This card, when I tell you, like, as I kept locking in these fighters, every single fight I got more excited. We have Chad Ritter, who's having a pro debut. Tyler Kaplan, he's with Dia Davis from Boca Boxing District. We have Evelyn Romo, Logan Holler. Man, I'm telling you, Johnny Thunder he's my business partner, my coach, and one of my best friends from my gym. So our group is just sick, and they're all phenomenal fighters. I don't say that just to say it. It's like, no, if you pull up these fighters, even outside of the pro debuts and they're amateurs, like, these are exciting fighters. They're fun to watch. They put on a show. Doesn't matter who's in front of them. And I think that's what Broward County needs. Like, we don't need any walkovers. We need some real fights, good fights. Give them good challenges, but give them a chance to shine as well.
And how excited are you to bring boxing to South Florida, specifically Broward?
Broward, man, oh my God. Everything happens in Miami. Miami. You know, we got the Hard Rock fights, but that's the Hard Rock. It is what it is, you know? So to find a different venue in Fort Lauderdale to bring people together, and it's Extreme Action Park. If you guys haven't been to Extreme, it's like, it's a fun, exciting place. It was one of my favorite places before I even partnered with them for anything. So to be able to have a pro show there, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to do some good stuff with it.
And what made you decide to gravitate towards the promotional aspect of the sport? Is it because you felt a real passion for the fighters and the relationships you've made with fighters, and you've wanted to do the best for them? Or has this always been something you've wanted to do?
You nailed it, man. You nailed it. I'm the type of person, I have a very business mentality, and I see things, and I'm always like, oh, that's either done very well, or, man, if I did that, I'd do A, B, and C with it, you know? So when I saw a lot of the way the promoters move and the way the promotions are, they're just never fighter-based. It's not about the fighters. It's about the show. So, again, I was like, I could do this, and I could do this with the people that I love, the people that I admire, the people that I respect, you know. All the fighters on my card, I'm a fan of them. You know, I'm a fan before anything. They're not just friends of mine. Like, I'm a fan of them. They're boxing, who they are as people. So I was like, I know that I could make a sick card, put them on it, and just all of us do something great together for each other, you know? And that's exactly what we're doing.
Exactly.
So as a fighter yourself, like you said, right now your pro record is 10-1. You have 3 knockouts. You're on a current 9-fight winning streak, which I say is very impressive. You have you're number 2 in the super welterweight division. So is there anybody? Do you think that you deserve that number 1 spot? Is there anybody you think that?
1,000%, man. 1,000%. That's what the whole point of this fighting stuff is for. You know, some people fight for money, fight for this, fight for that, whatever your reasons are. But since I started fighting, I knew that I wanted to fight to become a world champion, to become undisputed, to get, you know, all those accolades, because it's exactly what I'm doing this for, you know. Yeah, the money is great. Always, you know, you're like, oh, let's get that person. But I'm here for legacy. I'm here to leave a mark in the sport. And I think what I bring to the sport is very different from the traditional fighting styles. And I absolutely love it. So for me, it's like, let's line them all up. Like, I've been ready, and now I know that I'm more ready than I've ever been. So it's like the business of boxing. Anybody that knows boxing knows how rough that can be. So it's a fight to fight. We have to fight to fight. And it's like, you got to knock on every door. You got to bang on them and just be like, yo, let me in. So all these girls with the belts, it's like they're sitting on it, and they're kind of just like, there's always some excuse and some reason. And I'm just like, I don't care. Like, set up the fight. Like, let's go.
Do you feel like a problem with the modern sport of boxing is that people don't care enough about legacy, and they care more about building their record up, making money, keeping that O? Do you feel that that's what separates you, is that you're willing to take on anyone, anytime?
Yeah, and I will say this. I think women's boxing is very different from that.
Yeah,
traditionally, I don't think that women are protected the same. I don't think that any of us even want that. I think that most women, I want to say 99% of them are like, yo, I'll fight whoever, whenever. If you look at these girls, even like the girls I fought, that they have whatever records, it doesn't matter. These girls come to fight every single time. You could take a female who's been doing this, you know, for 10 years and has 15 wins and 15 losses. Bro, she's still going to give you a run for your money and put on a show, because females don't go in there to lie down. They don't. They go in there to go to war, and that's what you get almost every single fight with women.
And what do you think about certain female fighters wanting to change the rule from 10 2-minute rounds to 12 3-minute rounds? Are you a fan of that, or do you prefer the 10 2-minute rounds?
To me, it makes no difference. That's kind of where we go into the pay structure, and it's like, look, I train 3 minutes. I go 3 minutes. It's not that I can't or I don't want to or whatever it is, but the pay would be the same. So it's like,
why am I working extra?
Right. It's like, if you want that, you'd be willing to pay more. And at the end of the day, they're barely willing to pay as it is. So now we're adding all this, and it's like, for what? Now, when you look at fights like Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, undoubtedly she would have gotten knocked out in 3-minute rounds. It is zero doubt in my mind. Because both times they have fought, I've seen Katie's knees go in separate directions. Like, she's wobbled her so many times, and the amount of times Katie, and I'm a Katie fan as well, but the amount of times Katie almost hit that canvas and got saved by the bell, that's a game changer for women like that, you know? So
you feel the top
I
fights.
think that I do agree that more knockouts would come with 3-minute rounds. I do think that.
Fair enough.
So in that sense, I'm like, oh, well, that'd probably be more fun because of that. It's just got to make sense. But it would, I do believe that it would bring more knockouts.
I agree with that.
So are you an advocate for the 3-minute rounds, do you think?
I wouldn't say I'm an advocate, because I don't speak much on it. I don't want to speak much on it when I'm asked about it, you
Mainly for
know?
the big fights, like the championship top.
Yeah, I think once we're talking about world titles and stuff, make the money make sense. But in that case, then yes, I would say for world title fights that they should be 3 minutes, because it gives that variable of not leaving it up to the judges.
Yeah,
you
the
know?
judges always get in the way some capacity.
Somehow. That's why I took that fake little loss. It wasn't. Man, I'm gonna send y'all that fight, man. I'm telling you right now.
11-0.
Yeah, it really is, man. It really is. But it's okay. We learned that fight
Makes
taught
you
me the
push harder.
business of boxing, and that's when I learned. All right, I can't be out here playing in people's backyards all the time.
Literally. And now that we're beginning of 2025, now if you're becoming a promoter and also continuing to fight, what's your goal for this year, and how do you want to end the year off?
I want the world titles this first quarter. Undoubtedly, my management team knows it. My promoter knows it. They're fighting for it. You know, look, after my last fight in Chicago, I called out Cecilia Brækhus. I called out Emma Kozin. Cecilia has the interim. Emma Kozin has the WBC and the WBO. You know, so I'm just like, bro, line them up. What's up? Let's go. I know that even Mary Spencer has the WBA. She just got that. You know, so I understand that they're not gonna want to just
rush into the
so I get that. But when it comes to someone like Emma Kozin, man, you've had those belts for a while now. Like, you got to get out there and you got to play. If not, put them back on the shelf so someone else could pick them up. So at this point, that's the biggest fight I'm interested in right now. I want Emma Kozin for the WBC or Cecilia for the interim. I don't care which one.
And Cecilia has been a legend of sport for a long time. So
that's also why I want to do that, man. I want before some of these legends go, I want to get in there with them, and I really want to put myself to that test. Like, it's exciting to be like, yo, I fought this Hall of Famer that really left a pioneer in the sport that left such a legacy. So it's like, before you go, wait, you know, take me. And we all know that these women, like, you got Natasha Jonas, who she's like almost in her 40s, and it's like, bro, they're still out there
still
looking like
beating
they're
everyone,
fresh, sharp, ready to go. So I think that with women, it's a little different with the age. I don't think it affects us the same in the ring.
Fair enough, yeah.
Also, predominantly because we start later.
Yeah.
A lot of these men are fighting since they were 6 years
guys are
old.
still learning
Women
also,
get
yeah.
in later, so the longevity is there, so we have a little longer. So I think that, you know, they still got several fights in them left, and then I want to be one of those fights.
So who are some of your favorites when you were getting into the sport that you looked up to as fighters?
So I've always been a huge fan of all Puerto Rican fighters. I'm super biased on it because obviously, you know, I'm Puerto Rican. Yeah, man, I watched Xander.
I used to train with Xander.
Bro, I've watched Xander grow since the amateur days. I just
Good
remember
kid,
seeing
yeah.
this little spike of hair, blue and
The
stuff,
blue hair, yeah,
going all
of
over
course.
the place. So I've always been a Xander fan, and watching him fight after fight, I kid you not, I pick something up every time he fights.
Oh,
Every time he fights,
so
I'm like,
polished.
yeah, I'm gonna add that. You know, his footwork is gorgeous. Like, he's the type of fighter that's never out of position.
Of course, he's never looks uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's
Let
a
me guess,
beautiful
Cotto, Trinidad. Those
yeah,
are the ones?
Cotto. Oh my God, Cotto's my heart, man.
Oh yeah,
That guy's one of my favorites.
Living
So
legend, yeah.
we have a lot of legends with Puerto Rico, man, and then obviously that leads then into someone like Amanda Serrano.
Yeah, she's.
Who it's like, look
I
at
would
the
say
legacy
she's the number one
leaving.
right now in Puerto Rican boxing in 2024, 2025.
Yeah,
I
I
would
mean,
say.
in general for women's boxing,
Yeah.
you know, like she's just really paving the way. Shout out to MVP, man.
I was
Like,
about to say
I don't
that,
care
yeah.
what anybody says. Everyone's entitled to their opinions on this, that, whatever. So I have mine. And mine when it comes to Jake Paul and MVP is, listen, he puts his money where his mouth is. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if it wasn't for him, neither of those ladies would have hit $6 million paychecks. Like, what are we talking
changed
about?
the whole. Jake Paul and MVP, in my opinion, really changed the whole dynamic of women's boxing because he put them on such a large stage.
Yeah, off rip.
That everyone was talking about the Amanda Serrano fight. Even people that don't watch boxing, they were saying, "Did you see that women's fight right before?" Everyone asks about.
Yeah,
it.
there's a lot of haters out there that it's like, oh, he's only taking care of his fighters, this and this. You gotta understand, man. These are seeds being planted. Let him plant the seeds. It's gonna grow all over, but you gotta let them plant the seeds. You know, it's not gonna happen overnight. So he's doing a phenomenal job with them, with the promotion company in general with MVP. I'm like, yeah, I gotta get on one of those shows.
God willing, at 2025.
Yeah, man, definitely. And they do a lot of shows in Orlando too. So it's like, and they have that prospect series. I'm like, well, I'm already a contender, but that's fine. I'll throw me on the prospect series. I don't care.
I'll take out anyone.
It'll
that
be
they
a
could've
yeah,
fought.
exactly.
Might as well. Let's get more than 10-1. Let's go for 15-1.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyhow, so how'd this begin for you? How'd you get into the sport?
It started off for fitness, like I think for like a lot of us women. It's
Just
not
for
something that I was doing since 6 years old and stuff like that. I didn't get into it into my 20s. But I was out of shape. I wasn't exactly happy. I was making a lot of money. I was in business, but it was kind of like God was kind of leading me to be like, okay, but you gotta take care of yourself.
Literally.
And then I started boxing, and I think that it's like what happens to a lot of us. Like I tell this to people all the time because I have the gym. You just gotta do it one time, man. If you have the balls to walk into a boxing gym and just give it a shot one time, you're gonna fall in love. You're gonna fall in love. There's no such thing as not loving boxing unless you walk into the wrong gym.
You get beat up.
They don't know what they're doing, or they don't know how to manage people, and then you're getting beat up and things like that. Like my gym's a fitness gym. We don't. I never wanted a fight gym. That was never the intention. Fighting changed my life, yes, but boxing itself is what really saved my life. So for me, when I started boxing and it saved my life, I was like, I need to bring this to other people. I knew the day I walked into that gym, overweight and unhappy, that one day I was going to have one of these. And I was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And it took like 8 years after that when I finally opened the gym, but it didn't matter. Like I knew it would happen.
There's a will, there's a way, and you pushed really hard, and it paid off for you. And you know what I love about boxing, I feel most fighters I talk to love, is that it's a one-on-one sport. You don't have to worry about teammates. Yes, you have your team, but you don't have people out there with you that could sabotage you or mess you up. It's all on you. You win, you get the credit. You lose, you get the blame.
100%. And I think what I love about it too is it's a mental game, man. People don't realize how mental boxing is. I've seen some of the most elite fighters lose because of their mentals. You know, you have Sandy Ryan who fought Michaela Mayer. Sandy Ryan is above Michaela Mayer at an elite level. I do wholeheartedly believe that. But because of that paint stunt, she let it get in her head, and it showed. That was not the same Sandy Ryan that usually comes out. She fought angry. And ironically, we can't fight angry as fighters. It doesn't work. It's like anything in life. When you're angry, your vision is blurred. You're not thinking right. So if you go into the ring with that anger, you're not going to perform to your best. So
Correct.
I seen that, and then same thing with Chantel Cameron when the rematch with Katie Taylor. Chantel should have won that fight. The only reason she lost was because Katie came with a different game plan, and she frustrated Chantel like no other. Chantel spent that entire fight frustrated.
I feel like it's the experience too. With Katie.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Gave her a
She
big
knew exactly what
advantage,
she was doing, but then Chantel let it mentally get to her. And again, this is the sport of mindset. If you let them get in your head, you will see that in the performance.
And I want to give you credit because you lost your second fight, was it?
Yeah, it was the second one.
And it was by robbery. A lot of people would be like, I'm done. I got screwed over. But when it comes to the mental, you push through it. You didn't let it affect you. And you actually use it to your advantage by going on that 9-fight win streak and building yourself up the way you did. So you proved that it is a mental game, and you proved how to overcome that. So
yeah,
that was
for
very
sure, man.
commendable,
For
sure.
Especially talking about mental, I believe it was Tyson Fury's dad said that if a boxing match has no mental, it's going to turn into a fight instead of a boxing match. And
It's a good one.
yeah, and if you're the boxer and you stay within that mindset, then you just outbox instead of just trying to outfight somebody.
Oh, speaking of Cecilia Brækhus, that's what happened when she was with Jessica
Exactly.
McCaskill.
I remember that.
Bro,
I
I
always
remember
felt Brækhus
watching
was a
that
better
fight and
fighter.
being like,
Yeah.
oh my god. And then I sparred with Jessica and was like, I can also see why that could take you off mentally. I was like, bro, why you have no business being that strong, dog. Like, you're too small to be that strong.
I know,
Bro,
yeah.
Jessica's one of the hardest hitters I've ever been in there with, and we were like not even going crazy.
It's crazy. I feel like Brækhus was a considerably more talented fighter than McCaskill. So
Oh,
when,
for sure, for
when,
sure.
When
McCaskill's super
pulled
rough.
that off, when she pulled that off, that was all grit and determination. It wasn't pure ability, in my
Yeah.
opinion. And
Yeah.
that's what, as we were mentioning before, that's what makes boxing beautiful, because in a different sport, maybe the grit and determination will help you, but most of the time it's more about skill and precision. Boxing, it's a fight, so you're digging deep, you're pushing hard, and a lot of times that'll be the difference, that'll be the key that gets you that victory and
Yeah,
pushes you
for
to
sure.
it. So, 2025, you said you want to get that belt. Do you have any timetable for your return? Give or take, approximately?
Listen, I know that they're working on something for February and March. We're just
Okay.
really trying to make a title fight happen for February and March. So I'm in camp. I don't care. I'm in camp. I don't need
Fight
a date.
all year round.
I don't need a date to be in camp, because y'all not gonna get me sitting down and all of a sudden be like, oh, we got to fight for you in 4 weeks for a title, 10-round title fight.
Get off the couch.
Which
like
is how they
Kobe.
do. That's exactly how they do
Right.
it, you know. Especially like I know I'm gonna become. Obviously, I'm coming in on the B side because the A side is gonna be the world champion. So y'all not about to come at me and be like all of a sudden, oh, you got to fight in a couple weeks, and then think
Yeah.
that that's my camp. Oh, sure, you can think that I'm not ready, but I'm
secret
gonna be
the
ready.
whole time.
Yeah, I've already
Fighting
been in
shape.
camp. Yep.
If you look at all the best fighters of all time, obviously there's some who have had a little less discipline, Conor McGregor, etc. And even then, you see what happens without that discipline.
Yeah.
When you look at the top fighters, they're training all year round. Look at Terrence Crawford. Look at Alexander.
Yeah,
Usyk.
I don't drink,
Look at
I don't
Canelo.
smoke, I don't party, I don't do all that stuff, and I'm not even interested in doing all that stuff. The only time you catch me outside is because I'm either promoting, networking, or trying to, push something.
It's a lifestyle. You have to make
Yeah.
it a lifestyle, because if you don't, the person that does make it a lifestyle will beat you. You need it to be
1000%,
that
yeah.
lifestyle. And discipline is everything, especially in a sport like boxing, where as someone who's competed in multiple sports and I've never had an amateur fight, but I did train hard with amateur fighters and got into that lifestyle. I'm going to tell you this much: there's no sport as rough and difficult as boxing. Nothing. You go into a boxing gym, they have you running around, they have you hitting the bag for rounds and rounds and
3-mile
rounds.
warm up, have fun.
10 laps around the track. I never did running. Come on, 10 laps, all right.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll just power through this. After a 4th, 5th lap, I'm
When
cramping,
I first
I'm in pain.
transitioned from like fitness boxing to fighting boxing in the amateurs, I was like, what is this? Like, I had my first actual fight coach. It was Melissa Hernandez, Hurricane Shark, Puerto Rican, former world champion as well. And even her camps weren't as bad until I got with Ada Velez, now Ace, and Rosalinda Rodriguez. Now that was a whole nother story. I was just like, oh, this is amateur camp. Like,
So they're pushing harder,
and I'm a
like-
grown ass woman, So at the time, I'm like, damn, like this is a lot to keep up with. But at no point did I think that there was an option not to.
Oh, you have to. You have to.
To me, it was like, this is just part of the lifestyle that I got into now. So I embraced it, I incorporated it, and just kept working harder and harder and harder.
And you know what's really funny? After you train in boxing, if you ever compete in any other sports or go to the gym, people will always be blown away by your cardio. They're always like, how do you have such a cardio? I'm like, I boxed. That gives you the most intense.
Everyone thinks they're in shape
cardio.
till they box.
Until they box, literally, no sport competes with it in that regard.
As I would agree, as somebody who's done a couple of different combat sports, jiu-jitsu, boxing, kickboxing. Boxing definitely tested the cardio most, I would say.
Yeah, it's you don't get to. The thing is with it, you don't get to stop physically or mentally.
I was about to
You
say
know,
it's the
like
mental
you don't
too.
get that
It's the
break. You
mental
don't get
too.
that pause. If your brain takes a break for 1 second
You might
in
get
there,
clipped.
it's over. It's over.
over.
You know that you gave them an opportunity to get in. Especially like again going back to that mental grit. That's why they call them championship rounds. People think it's because of your conditioning and your cardio. No, once you're getting into round 6, 7 of a big elite fight, bro, mentally it's taxing. It's gassing. That's more gassing than the physical part because you're like you have to keep that mental, that complete focus. There can't be anything else. You can't even care about nothing in the world. Like, you have to be locked in 1,000%. Like, that's the only thing in the world that matters at that moment.
And interestingly enough, I wanted to readdress that initial roadblock at the beginning of your career. How did you mentally overcome that? How did you realize that, yes, this isn't the cleanest sport. I need to really beat up these opponents to really not get screwed over. Mentally, what changes did you make that had you really improved since that fight?
So I understood that number one, all judges are gonna look at different things, you know, and you never really know what they're looking at. You have half the judges could be looking at volume, half of them could be looking at ring generalship. They all have like their own perception of things, you know. So to me, it was more like, okay, I'm in someone's backyard, their hometown, their promoter, all this stuff. I had done that for my first fight, and I had won in her turf as well. So I kind of like got cocky about it and was like, oh, I could go do it again. But it was completely different promoters, completely different place. You know, the second one was Atlanta. The first one was like North Carolina. The people were different. Everything was different. So I just didn't take it personal. I didn't let myself be like, oh man, I lost. And da da da. It was more like, okay, what could I have done to make it clearer? Because obviously I didn't make it clear enough. So it was like, let me go back to the drawing board and just take what I need to and make it what we all say. They're not just losses, they are lessons, but if you take it as such, which people say that, and I say the same thing about your win should also be your lesson. Like, you need to take that win and still go back to the drawing board and what could I have done better? What do I need to improve on? It doesn't matter that you won. So for me, it was just going back to the drawing board and being like, how do we make this something that is an undoubtable thing, you know, like taking over, dominating, and after that it was like a change of mentality of you need to be more dominant. Like, you really need to go in there and dominate these women, and that's what has changed. I think fight after fight after fight, it was, I love to box, and I've grown into such a great boxer IQ wise as well, but it was like, how do we really mix up between boxing, brawling, domination, and putting all these things together and make a well-rounded fighter? I didn't want to be one-dimensional. You know, I wanted it to be like what I am now, where it's like at the switch of a button, hey, this game plan's not working, now we gotta do this. Hey, this game plan's not working, let's go to this. And just mixing it up and knowing that I have all the tools to bring out the box when we need it, you know, and having a great corner like my coach to remind you of that. It's like, hey, listen, go southpaw now. Hey, listen, do this, and just having that teamwork of, we're not scared of anyone because we know, like, whatever is put in front of us, we know how to adjust and get through that.
Of course. So your way of being mentally tough isn't to let it affect you. It's to almost move past it and find a way to strategically get better. Don't get all angry. Don't get all pissed.
Right.
You got to be logical and smart about it. And
I spent too much time growing up being angry. I let that go. God healed that a lot, you know. So I don't like to be angry, man. I don't like to be angry. It's something that I rebuke it every single time. I really try not to let things take me out of character. You know, I mentioned earlier that I'm a cop as well, so it's like I can't be letting things get to me over there either. You know, like, I'm entrusted to protect and serve, so obviously that means that I have to have a temperament for that, you know, and be able to stay cool, calm, and collected in whatever scenario I'm in. So I just really try my best not to be angry.
Would you say that there's anything that you would do in particular beside, like, to help you move on, that you would, like, either something you tell yourself or something that you do to, like, bring yourself back into the zone?
Oh, man, Jesus is my best friend.
There we
so
go.
So I have a great relationship with God. That's my go-to for absolutely everything. So for me, it's prayer. Just staying in prayer, staying with my God, keeping that peace with Him, and just knowing that I have that direct line. I can pick up the phone and be like, "Yo, I need your help," and He's gonna show up. So
you know, as one of my favorite verses, it says, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" Right?
Amen.
So I feel like as a fighter especially, that verse probably hits very close to home, because a lot of fighters are intimidated by someone who's more experienced or better than them, but you realize, like, if God's for me, it doesn't matter who's in front of me, because
I'm put me in this position to begin with.
Exactly.
You know, so, and then plus, like, I give all the glory to God, because I look at myself now and I laugh, because you have all these people saying this, and this, and I'm like, I wasn't born an athlete. The furthest thing from it, you know, like, I've always loved sports and I've done sports, but who I am today is a direct reflection of who God allows me to be, who he has gifted me to be. So for me, it's like, I have to put these gifts into action. I have to do what I have to do because he's given me this position, and I'm honored to do it. I absolutely love it.
Did you seek God a lot after that first loss? Or that only loss, I should say.
Yeah, that one was funny because he was just like, you never even asked me about this fight.
You kind of almost.
I took that fight.
Right?
Very high off of that first one. Like, I went into her backyard.
Look at me. Yeah.
And the second one, and I had prayed so much about the first one because it was my pro debut. Yeah. And the second one, I took it. I didn't even pray about it. I said, this is me. And he said, and then right after it, I'll never forget because it was immediately after in the locker room. And the spirit was just like, you never consulted me about this. And I was like, oh, Jesus, thanks. Like, my bad. And that's when I learned, like, I'll never do that again.
You tried doing it on your own because that pride got in your head.
Yeah.
You know, we all relate to that to some extent. We all have our moments of pridefulness. And after that, I assume you've seeked it through those bouts, and that's why you've gone on this 9-fight win streak. And you've been put in this position where now you're about to be promoting events, you're about to get a title shot. So things have really changed for you. And I mean, it's absolutely crazy to think about how you got into the sport late and you weren't in shape, and now you're in a position where you're about to be the best. So it's crazy how things change, God willing, right? So you have ideally a title shot coming up in April or March. You have the promotion. How are you balancing this lifestyle of promotion and being a cop and fighting? How are you balancing that all out?
So there's no balance. There's just go.
That's the honest answer.
Just staying disciplined. The same way I'm disciplined in my training. You know, lots of checklists, lots of to-do lists. Just making sure that I prioritize what needs to be prioritized. And like I said, I don't waste time on garbage and nonsense.
I was gonna say, you're not partying and doing all that. That gives you a lot more free time. People say you only have so much time in a day. I'm like, yeah, you do have a lot of time in a day.
But you get to choose what you do with it.
Exactly.
Right.
It's
Anybody that says, and I've always been a big believer of this, like when someone says I don't have time, it's because you're not a priority to them or the situation or whatever it is. You know, I have a lot going on, but I made the time to come down here tonight because this is something that I'm very passionate about. I really wanted to get on this show for a while now. So I'm like, this is something I have to do. Like, this is beneficial for all of us. So, you know, I made the time for it. At the end of the day, you get to make those decisions. And
when it comes to training and having time for that as well, it's all about opening up the times and using the time correctly. Especially for training, man. There's no options with training. Like, this is when you train, how you train, what you're doing, and that's it. Nothing can get in the way of that. So we talk about how to make time for fighting and make time for training. How was it to really adapt from prior to when you were a fighter and you weren't in the best shape to becoming a very disciplined person and staying in the gym and staying consistent? How was that transition for you? Hard. I imagine, yeah. But you know what? Like, I'm a very all-in type of person. I don't have fast absolutely anything. So for me, it was like, whatever I'm going to get into, I'm going to give it 150%. So once I kind of had that obsession with it and was like, I'm going all in, I knew that would take the sacrifices. And there was so much to it. And I was just like, you know what? As these curveballs come in, I'm just going to take them and run with it. Again, it was never about, am I going to keep doing this? It was, how do I keep doing this? How do I make the adjustments? How do I make more time? How do I fix my schedule? How do I do this, you know? And I just kept making the adjustments as I do today, because I still do.
Have you always been like that, even before you started competing? Were you always kind of...
Like that obsessive personality, right? Like,
yeah.
Focused,
I don't think that anyone should do anything and not strive to be great at it.
Of course.
If you're going to do anything, try to be the best. That's just how my philosophy, that's how my mom raised me. I don't even take the credit for that. I think that was just something that was engraved in me as a little girl, and my mom was just always like that. Like, she was just so good about giving me so much wisdom when I was growing up, and it's crazy because to this day, like, she still doesn't realize, shout out to my mom, she still doesn't realize, like, I am an embodiment of what you raised. Like, she's so proud of me. She's like, oh, I don't know what I did to deserve you. You literally raised me. Like, that's what you did to deserve me. Like, you're proud because you made this, you know? Like, this was you. So it's like, she instilled so much character, demeanor, discipline, all these things into me, you know, that even if I didn't have it at the time, when I started tapping into it, all those lessons came in, all that came to mind of the way she raised me and stuff like that. So it was like, even when it came to work, like, I grew, and this is what led to me being actually out of shape, was because my career took off at a very young age. I was 19, and I started opening up restaurants here, there, being flown out all over the place to do business consulting. And it was such a great ride. but it was her mentality of, don't ever play the position you're in, play the position you want.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's always been, I don't care what my job is, I don't care what I'm doing, I'm going to play the position above. And then when that position opens up, they're going to know it's for me because I'm already ready for that. I already put in the work for that. I already molded myself into that. So it led to a really great, abundant career, you know, but it meant that my career came first for the first decade of what I feel like that chapter of my life was. You know, I spent almost 10 years in hospitality doing all that stuff. But I had a great run and I learned so much. But again, it was like I was all in there too. But that meant not being all in for myself as a person physically, you know, and things like that. So I had to learn to just reinvest in myself.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that besides the obvious Puerto Rican boxers that inspired you to start boxing, would you say that just in life in general that your mother was a huge role model for you?
Oh yeah, definitely, dude. She was like, I always said she had this crazy balance of like, people loved her because she was such a beautiful, kind-hearted person, a giving person, like type person that takes the shirt off their back to give it to you, but at the same time you don't want to play with my mom. You did not want to play about my mom. She did politics growing up. Like, she just was a badass, man.
Strength.
So I got to grow up watching mom be mom and dad, and she did that beautifully. You know, I think that when people say, oh, you know, look, I know that kids need their dads. I understand that, but I do understand that a mom can do a phenomenal job too. You know, and my mom's a perfect example.
Nothing's black and white.
Yeah, my mom's a perfect example of teaching, like, just that well-rounded kid, you know. So I'm grateful. My sister's also with CSI down in Miami.
Nice.
So it's like we both do a lot of great things. And she's military, you know, the last, since high school, she went straight into the military, into the Army. So it's like, She raised some good kids, man.
And what was her reaction when you said you wanted to get into fighting and really compete?
Lord.
That's what I'm
so,
curious.
My mom's super supportive of my career. She actually, the first fight she ever has been to in my entire career was Chicago.
Okay.
Dude, that was so special. It was so special. And I feel so bad because I ended up, we both bled in that fight, me and the other girl. And so I felt so bad because I'm like, my poor mom's here and I'm bleeding. And she's like, oh my God. But she's always been supportive. She's supported me from afar when it came to boxing because it's something that she felt like, I can't watch someone try to hit my baby. Like, I'm going to jump in there with you. Like, my mom going to shank somebody. Like, and you cannot take this Puerto Rican anywhere. So, it was something that it was very hard for her to try to even get to. So, she never even tried. It was just like, she prays for me. She tells the family about it. She brags about me. She posts about it. My baby supporter, she just couldn't be there, you know. So, for this last one, I had told her, I was like, listen, it's Thanksgiving, you know, we're all going to be in Chicago. Like me, my sister, my family, everyone's coming out to Chicago. You're going to stay here, you come to Chicago. She said she's coming. Then the next week she calls me, she's like, I hope that you know that just because I'm coming to Chicago, it doesn't mean I'm going to your fight. I was like, what? Whoa. So you're coming all the way to Chicago to not come to my fight? Okay, whatever. So I was like, you know what? I get it. She doesn't want to be alone. I don't want her to be alone. I wanted her in Chicago. So I remember I actually did an interview the night before with the people from Boxing TV because they were the commentators, and I had told them just that, you know, she's gonna go with us and then go right back to the hotel, and the next thing you know, the day of the fight, she just told me like she's coming, and I was like, what?
Weird surprise,
You're coming? So I called my manager and I'm like, Trinidad, my mom's actually coming. I need the tickets. And he's like, I got you. So he actually put her in like these VIP seats with my family and stuff. And it's like everyone like rallied around her to make sure she was good. And they just kept talking to her, just kept like walking her through it. Like, this is part of it. It's okay. Look, yeah, okay, she might have gotten hit there, but look, she hit her like 30 times after that. She's fine.
She's used to this.
So, yeah. So everybody was like a shoulder for my mom. I had my best friends there, you know, and it was awesome. It was a very wholesome experience being able to take pictures with her after and just embrace that moment. It was super cool. Like I get like chills just thinking about it because it was just such a special moment. It's like you got to see it in action. Like you really got to see in action all of the work you've put into me, all of your life, you know. I know that she sees it in law enforcement. She's so proud of me, but for this specific area, for her to see it firsthand, you know, and then afterwards be like, that was crazy. Like, she was scared but so impressed at the same time, you know? So it was awesome.
I'd imagine, yeah.
So, saying that, do you see your mom coming to any more fights?
I don't think so. I'm gonna be honest, man. I don't think so. I don't know if her heart could take it. You know, she's been through a lot. And I don't know if I want that for her, man. I feel it's a little selfish. I feel it's a little selfish. I think that I got what I wanted. She came, she saw. But I don't expect her, just like I didn't expect her to before, I don't expect her to come out anymore. And I wouldn't blame her for not doing it. But I'd love for her to be there, obviously. Like, we're coming for world titles, ma. But that just means it's going to be more of a war. And I don't need that for her.
So is that the first time she was at one of your fights ever?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
First and only.
What a fight to be at.
Yeah, dude. That was a good one. That girl did not want to lose.
So
she was undefeated, so she came to fight.
So you had that fight in Chicago. Where ideally would you fight? Either a title fight or a title defense or a big fight for you. Where do you want a future fight to be at?
Dying to fight in Puerto Rico.
That's
I
what I
want
was
to fight in
going to
Puerto
ask.
Rico so bad. It's so cute because my promoter, like I said, MNR, like, they're so good to me and they're so loving. She even was working on putting on a show there to get me over there.
Yeah,
you know, just to be able to say, like, you're gonna fight in Puerto Rico and it's gonna be on our card. You know.
Yeah.
So I would love to fight in Puerto Rico, but just like I think everybody that gets into fighting, like, you dream about Vegas, you dream about MGM, you dream about all these stages. So for me, it's like, give me any of those places. Give me any of them. Like, I'm so grateful for any of those stages because I've dreamed about them all. So whichever one comes first, whichever one comes second, like, I'm here for the whole ride, man.
Is there any part of Puerto Rico in particular, just wherever?
Dude, wherever they put it, man. I love my island, and I got family all throughout the entire island. So for me, it's like, you know.
So regardless, you have people there with you.
Yeah. It's just rough right now, you know. Again, like, I don't know if you heard recently, but they had crazy power outages.
I was gonna ask, yeah.
It's like, and that's what I love about my people. Like, we're so resilient no matter what.
Always,
you know, Puerto Rico gets every other year, man. It's a hurricane, it's this, it's that, and it's so rough.
Yeah.
And yet they come out on top and then rebuilding. So I'm just like, I'm always like doing my best to see, hey, what can we do? What difference can we make? You know, because it's really rough. So they got to get past this now and rebuilding that grid and figuring out what's next.
And you look at the fighters; they're resilient as well. You know, they always push through adversity. San Miguel Cotto, the first time he fought Margarito, and Margarito cheated.
So good.
And he came back, got revenge, and absolutely demolished him. I mean, made him have to. The doctor had to stop the fight because he got beat so bad. So that resilience, that ability to come back, that's in the blood of Puerto Ricans and the fighters as well. So.
For sure. My mom always says that I represent, and I'm more proud to be Puerto Rican than a lot of Puerto Ricans. Like, and I'm the one that wasn't born there, right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, and that's why, like, even my last fit that was Puerto Rican out, man. GT Boxing, shout out to GT Boxing. They made these dope custom Puerto Rican gloves for me. My whole fit was Puerto Rican themed. And originally somebody had mentioned, like, oh, you should do USA and Puerto Rico, like, both flags. And I was like, yes, but Puerto Rico is also USA. So it's the same thing, really. You know, a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people, it's so crazy, but a lot of people just don't realize, like, it's one and the same. Like, yes, it's its own entity, it's its own people, a beautiful culture of people, but Puerto Ricans are Americans. Like, what do we mean?
Now, interesting question I want to bring up. What do you prefer when you have a ring walk? Do you prefer it to be in English or in Spanish music?
Go either way. If it's going to be Spanish, it's usually a good Puerto Rican song. Okay, like, I came out to Bandoleros, and bro, that place was lit. When I tell you, like, even the English people were like, going crazy. Like, everybody knows that song. It was so fun. But lately, I don't listen to secular music anymore. I really just don't. It's part of my walk with Christ has really led me away from it all. So I really only listen to I would label it as Christian music, right? That's what it's labeled. But just gospel music, because New Age is just so different. You know, you have so many artists, so many rappers that are like, bro, like, they're thumping on these songs, and it's like these crazy beats, beautiful music, and it's all just praising Jesus, you know? For me, it's like, I like to give that same platform that I'm getting on, I like to give it to these newer artists as well. Like, it got a pretty good amount of views and stuff like that for my last fight in Chicago. There's an artist called I Am Gifted Hands, and he is just a phenomenal rapper. And so when I first heard of him, I was like, oh my God, like, this guy is crazy, amazing. So I walked out to his song, I collaborated with him on that post, and man, the views just were crazy on it. It was super cool. So that's where I'm at now. It's kind of like, how can I balance, you know, getting a good song that the crowd is going to really like and that beat, but also kind of like put that seed into people. Like, yo, what song is
Yeah.
this? Like, this is good. Like, wait, this guy's rapping about Jesus? Like, what's happening
Yeah,
right
if you
now?
look at a lot of modern music, I mean, it's hard to associate yourself with these rappers about sleeping around, drugs, all
I
this
can't
other
relate.
stuff. Exactly.
I don't relate, you know?
You don't want that, even if the beat is great and the rhythm is good, you don't want that to be put out there. You want something more
Yeah,
positive.
that's where I'm at.
We see some fighters, I mean, we see Vasil Lomachenko, his last ring walk was a full-on, like, Byzantine Empire Christian ring walk, and you saw he got a lot
Oh
of
no!
credit for
Even
that.
at the Dirty Boxing show, man, I'm slipping on his name. But he came out one of the heavyweights, dude, and I mean, it was like a worship service.
Mm-hmm.
He was sitting there in worship for like the whole 3-minute song.
Oh, man.
And I was just like, yeah, that's pretty dope, man. Like, I ain't even mad at it. And nobody was upset. Everybody was just like just vibing. Like, you know, let him get in his zone. That's how he chose to come out. Respect it. Let it be. But it was a whole worship moment. So it was pretty dope.
Do you have any, like, pre-fight, I'm not going to say rituals, but routines that you feel like, not superstitions, but you like to follow that not every fighter follows?
I got these pair of socks. They're these flame socks. I wash them, guys.
I was gonna ask.
But they're these fire socks. They're really long. They come up to about here. For the last fight, it was the first fight that I wore them a little lower just because the outfit was so good. The shoes were so good. I was like, I'm wearing them, but I didn't need the flames to show. But I wear those fights to every weigh-in and every fight. I haven't skipped a beat. And now at this point, I just don't feel I can. Like, I'm like, I might need a second pair if these go out because those are my socks and those are my winning socks.
Signature.
Like, yeah. So those are, I don't care about socks anymore. I know that's what I'm wearing. So it's one less headache to worry about, you know?
Yeah, you know, you look
But other than that, nah, man. Like, obviously, like I keep saying, you know, I stay in prayer, I stay in worship, and that's all it is. Like, I always rebuke the enemy when I'm going into fights because I know I work too hard for those thoughts to be coming in last minute. So I know, I'm always laughing because I'm like, yeah, I'm on the brink of something real good if he's trying to play with my mind right now, right before a fight. So I just rebuke it. I stay in that prayer zone, and so it just, I get rid of all those thoughts, you know. God gets rid of them for me, so I just make sure that I keep that relationship tight so that I can stay focused and just focus on what's in front of me because I know, again, how hard I've already trained for it.
So during your walk-ups, you mentioned that you're going into prayer, but is there anything else going through your head? Are you, like, thinking of anybody in particular? Are you thinking of anything that you're about to do, like any strategies? Or are you just
no thinking, just
going in the
happy.
moment?
Just so happy. Like, that's my happy place, you know? For me, the ring walk is just like, yeah, we're here, you know? Like, you put in so much work during the training camps that it's like, this is the moment. This is what you trained for.
Right.
This one night is what you just did 2-3 months for in camp for this. So it's, to me, it's like the most rewarding night of camp. It's fight night. So
Gotta live in the moment.
it's one of those times where it's like, this is all about this moment right here, and I just lock in, and it's all I care about. I don't have thoughts. I honestly don't. When I'm walking in the ring, I'm just like jamming to whatever song that I have that's gonna keep me in that zone, and then I get in, and I'm like, let's go. That's it.
Do you feel like the Mike Tyson quote where he says all the nerves pretty much go away once I'm in that ring? I'm not saying that you have nerves because you're saying more that you're happy and positive, but obviously in the back of your mind before a
Yeah,
fight,
we're human.
you're human. But do you feel when you get in that ring, they almost like fight or flight comes in and those nerves kind of disappear?
Yeah, for sure. Once I'm in there, it's just like, it's time to play, you know, and it's actually funny because I don't size fighters up. I don't, like, I'm not about that trash talk. I'm not about,
Who's going to turn away first in the face off?
Yeah, like, bro, like, I could care less. If anything, it's the opposite. Like, I'm fighting not to crack up. Because to me, like, I'm just such a happy person that I'm in the face-offs, and I'm, like, just so happy to be here. So it's like, they're like, all right, now face off. And I'm just like, okay.
Like Manny
So,
Pacquiao.
yeah, so it's really hard for me to be serious. It's really hard for me to have that game face because it's just how I feel. So for me, when I'm serious, it's like, but I don't feel that way.
It's inauthentic if you're trying to do
Yeah, so I just always stand there, and I just, like, you'll always see smiles on me. Like, my lips start literally, like, twitching when I'm trying to be serious. Like, I'm standing in front of her, like, trying to, like, don't laugh. And then my lips just, like, starts, like, curling. I'm like, forget it, whatever. And then I just end up smiling, laughing, and I'm like, okay. You know, this last time, that girl, for whatever her rituals are, I had walked past her at one moment, and I walked past her and her coach, and then I realized, like, okay, you're not that person. Why are you going to start being that person? So I kind of took a step back, looked at her coach, shook his hand, and I was like, what's up, man? How you doing? And then when I went to shake her hand, which I've done in plenty of other fights, and they never care, she, like, took her hand back, went to dab me up, and was like, after the fight. And, like, kind of gave me a little attitude. And I just went, okay. Like, that was weird. And I just walked away from it, and I was like, you're still going to get your ass beat. But like, so I was like, you can have whatever demeanor you want. I don't care. And it's crazy because when we finally actually did the weigh-ins and stuff, she was trying so hard to have this mean demeanor, but my energy was so infectious that by the time it was all done, she was smiling just like I was. Like, she couldn't even escape it, and I'm just like, yeah, that's God. Just so you know.
Gave you a little edge mentally as well. And how do you feel when fighters don't touch gloves right before a fight?
I think it's unnecessary.
I agree.
I think
I'm
it's
not a
super
fan of
unnecessary.
that.
Again, like, dude, this is a sport, man. Like,
You
unless
know,
you talk about
yeah.
my mama before the fight, like, if you're not talking about my mom or you didn't say nothing like demonic, like, I don't care. Like,
Like,
I have nothing against you.
Have
Some
that
people,
base respect. You
some
know?
people need to be. The thing is that, again, some people need to go there mentally to be able to fight. Like, you're the enemy. No, this is my job.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is my job. You are a job tonight. So I don't care. I don't care about the being mean and all. No, my job tonight is to beat you up, and that's what I'm gonna do. And I don't have to be mean to do it. Like, it's
Exactly.
just my hands are gonna get disrespectful of anything, but that's it. We're good.
You see some fighters say they have to convince themselves they don't like their opponent to
All
beat
the
them on
time.
an edge.
All
You
the
agree
time.
with that to an extent?
No, I don't. That's
don't
not
think
for
so?
me, but that's
'Cause
what
you
I
view it
say.
as a job. For
Right,
you,
that's
yeah.
why I'm saying, like, for other people, I understand it. I don't judge it. It's cool. Like, you have to do what you have to do for you.
That's not your
It's just
mindset.
not my mindset at all. Far from it. Like, especially now moving forward, like, I have so much love and respect for all these champions that I'm calling out that I want to get in the ring with. Like, I don't have anything against you. If anything, it's an honor for me to be in there with you.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna front about that. I'm not gonna try to act hard like I'm better than you. No, bro. Like, I'm in the ring with somebody right now who is an elite level, and I'm just so happy to be here. So I don't take it out on anybody.
And that respect you have for other fighters is probably going to be a big factor for you when it comes to promoting fights as well, because it shows that you have genuine care for the people that you're working with. You're not just viewing them as an asset. A lot of promoters in the past, they viewed their fighters as just financial assets, but you know that they're humans, and also that faith that you have, it also keeps you grounded morally as well.
Yeah, man, look, even for this show now, like, all the fighters, they got hoodies, they got shirts, like, I made everybody custom shirts, like, I'm doing stuff that nobody really does, you know, and if they do give you gear, they give you their own gear, they don't customize it for you. No, I put the fighters' names on all of their shirts, you know, so, like, just being different. I ordered them all little, one of my favorite things to give away myself as a fighter, I make little, I don't make them, but I order little custom keychains for boxing.
Oh,
They're
nice.
little boxing gloves. I'm sure you guys have seen them around.
I have.
Most people have them for, like, businesses and stuff. I have them for the gym as well. But I have a little glove, and it has, like, Elia Soulsnatcher on it, whatever, the gym logo. And people go crazy over the little things. Like, they go crazy for them. So I knew the impact that just something that small made. So now all the fighters on this card, they all get an order of custom little keychains to give away with tickets or just as promo. So it's those little things, you know, we already had a media day off rip that wasn't for the media. It was for them to get content to promote for them. So all those little things put together, it's like, yeah, I'm here for you. I don't have to spend that money. I don't have to do that. I spend a lot of money on shirts. I spend a lot of money on hoodies. I spend a lot of money on these keychains.
You're building
But
those relationships.
it's for you guys. Yeah, I want them to have such a great experience because, again, just being in the mud and going through this and always doing all that for myself, it's like, nah, I got y'all. Like, I got y'all.
It's definitely very good for you going into the promoting business, knowing that these fighters will always want to fight for you, knowing that they get these, I guess you could say, specific perks. Because obviously, as a fighter, you know how you want fighters to be treated, and nothing less than that. So when a fighter says, "Oh, I'm looking for either my first fight, my pro debut, I'm looking for it, I'm around,"
It's my favorite.
Exactly. So you're looking for like a Broward fight or somewhere around the area where they're from, and then they stumble upon your promotion, and you're like, "I treat fighters well. I know how to treat them." So is there anything else that you really want to say that you do for the fighters by a fighter?
Man, it's all in the little details. I think it's not really any one big thing that I do. I think that it's all these little things that add up. Even like fight night, you know.
Yeah.
For fight night, I think about me in the back, whether it's A side, B side, whatever it is, you know. Whenever you need something, you're like, who do I go to? Who do I talk to? Like, there's always confusion in the back.
Yeah.
You know, on our fight night, each side has a liaison. A side has a liaison, B side has a liaison. Absolutely anything that these 10, 11 people need, fighters need, and their coaches, you're going to go to this person. On the A side, anything you need, you're going to go to this person. There's no confusion. Like, you know, you're getting a direct line of contact for whatever it is, whether it's water, whether it's Gatorade. It's just all those little things that really add up to the big picture. So I would say that it's not even anything. I don't think I do anything big. I think that it's a big picture that I put everything together, and it just adds up to all of it.
What I think is good is you're making these fighters' lives easier, and what no one really thinks about is when you're a fighter, you have enough stress. You're worrying about a literal fight. Someone's trying to take you out.
And then you still got to promote yourself.
The last thing you should be worrying about is your promoter trying to screw you over, get one over you, or not caring about you. Your promoter should always be there to help you and make your life the best it can be, especially because you're literally helping them by fighting on their card and by bringing eyeballs and attention to their events. So when it comes to being a promoter, I feel like the heart and the intention is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And that little extra effort that you're showing, it's not because they need a keychain or they need it, but it's because they see the heart behind it. They see the intention, and that's what they appreciate, especially in a business that's so corrupt in the past.
You think?
You would think, right? And I think one thing about boxing that makes it interesting is I feel all sports are corrupt, but for some reason boxing is a sport that everyone knows is corrupt.
And then they keep getting away with it. Like everyone's like, oh, what a robbery, and then it never happened. What?
When have we seen a judge?
What are we doing about these judges? What are we doing about these refs?
Agreed.
Like nothing. Nothing gets done, and you're like, and then we wonder why it stays corrupt because nobody cares enough to change it. How do you even change that?
And you know what's crazy? Like you'll never see a judge or a ref get interviewed after the fight, almost never.
Ever.
And what's crazy is the same judge. I don't know if you guys saw the UFC event with Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov.
No.
So there was a terrible robbery in the UFC. I mean, ridiculous. The judge that gave it a robbery was Adelaide Bird, the same judge that scored Canelo Triple G1, 10 rounds to 2 for Canelo. Really? The same judge scored that fight for Cyril Gane. I remember when they said that, I'm like, of course it's Adelaide Bird. I told my friend who was with me, he didn't even believe it because he assumed she got fired. Any other profession, you do that terrible of a job, you get fired. She got barely any repercussion. And in the sport of boxing, the judges don't get repercussions,
Nothing.
the refs don't get repercussions.
But that's what's upsetting. It's like, at what point... And how would you even make a difference in that end? Like, because it's like there has to be accountability, or it's never going to change.
It shouldn't be the fans' job to get justice. It should be the commission, the promotion, and
the fighters themselves too.
To an extent, but once...
Like, do we do petitions? Like, what do we do? Put these people's name on? If I get 100 signatures, y'all fire this dude? Or some type of suspension? Because, like, if a boxer does wrong, they could suspend us. They could do all this stuff to us. But when your own refs and your own judges and your own people are doing whatever they want for whatever reasons, it's perfectly fine. It's just going to be a memory in a couple weeks.
100%. When you look at the refs as well, I mean, I saw a UFC fight recently between Bobby Green and Jalen Turner. I don't know if you saw that one.
Yes.
So this fighter gets dropped, and Jalen Turner's hitting him with like 5-6 blows. This is UFC, by the way. Yeah. He's out of it, and the ref is just watching. These refs, they need to care more about these fighters' health.
Taking a little coffee break,
chilling. Looking across the ring, not paying attention.
He was out cold. There were multiple, myself included, but there were multiple media people that were live streaming. I wasn't live streaming at the time. But a very famous MMA media person,
guru?
Exactly, yelled at his camera to stop the fight about 5 seconds before the ref even took a step forward to an unconscious man getting his teeth knocked in. And it was one of the worst refereeing jobs I've ever seen.
That's dangerous.
There needs to be more accountability in the sport just in general when it comes to the fighter's health. I mean, there's times where a fighter will be getting absolutely dogged, and the ref or the corner, they won't stop the fight.
Or the opposite. They'll
stop it right away.
Yeah, and you're like, he went, and then the ref's like, and you're like, bro, what? Like, who's paying you? Stop that. Like, what was that? Like, what was that stoppage? Like, come on now. And so it's just, it's funny. It's funny in hindsight sometimes, but at the same time, it's just sad. It's a sad state of what it is. You know, when speaking of robberies, like, I kid you not, I actually cried after this fight. It was a Sandy Ryan, Jessica McCaskill fight. The reason that robbery hurt my heart and soul so much was because I saw myself in Sandy. It was like, this was her shot. This was her title shot. This was her moment. And they just, her own team knew that she didn't win. And they gave it to Jessica, and it was like, wait, what?
Like disbelief.
I mean, I'm talking about, like, we're talking, if you were drunk, it was probably you'd probably give like maybe 6 to 1, 4 to the other. If you were squinting your eyes, you probably do like 7 and 1 to 1. But bro, when I tell you that 10-round fight was an 8-2 fight. It was an 8-2 fight. It was a performance by Sandy Ryan. A beautiful performance of boxing. True, authentic, gorgeous boxing.
The sweet science.
And they gave it to Jessica, and it was like she didn't do anything to Sandy at all. So it was one of those moments where I was just so hurt for her because I was like, that could have been me.
Of course.
I could have whooped this girl,
And
for
get
8
completely
rounds and been robbed of a title freaking shot.
People don't understand the pain of getting robbed. You know, a lot of times the fans will complain about it for a day or two, and then life in the sport moves on. The fighter that gets the gift victory still, people forget that he just came off of a robbery win. You know what I mean? And the fighter that lost has to build it all the way back. What would you consider doing as a promoter that you think could actually limit corruption in the sport? I know you can only do so much, but what are some things that you can note that may help?
I think keeping tabs on kind of like who allows these things to happen, which refs, which judge, and things like that, and trying to avoid having them. But again, it's such a single-sided thing when it comes to the athletic commissions. You know, they call the shots. They really have all to say. Even getting dates, bro. Like, you have some promotions that go out there and they request 10 dates and they get 10 dates.
Yeah.
You have some promotions go out there, request 10 dates and they get 1.
Yeah.
I submitted for like 8 different shows.
And you got 1.
I got 1. And now I got to go fight for the second half of the year to see if they'll give me 1 more. They do what they want when they want, and it's like, man, how do we, and that's why I keep saying, like, normally I have some type of answer of how to address these things, but I don't know yet. I don't know yet because I'm still learning the real nitty gritty of that back end of being a promoter. That the more I see it, the more I'm like, oh, this is rough. How do we fix this? You know, even BoxRec, bro. People don't realize do you guys know how to put a show on BoxRec?
I do not. I know there's a way.
When you get a show, it has nothing to do with the commission. Even though the commission's the one that approves the fights, nothing to do with the commission. You have to go to BoxRec. You have to submit a forum. A forum. Are we on Reddit? Like, what are we doing? This is not, like, it's insanity because then you submit a forum, you wait for that to get approved, and then they update it, and it could be 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So then the commission is waiting on them to do their jobs. They're technically waiting on you to do yours, but you're waiting on a forum that got posted in hopes that it's going to be seen, and if it doesn't, you got to follow up, and then it is literally whatever they want as well.
You have to jump through a bunch of hoops.
Bro, it's so hard for no reason.
We were talking
for
about
no
this
reason.
Before we went on air. Right now, you're ranked number 2 and 3 legitimate promotion
belts,
yes,
right? Yeah.
Thank you. But BoxRec has you ranked at number 4, and you said that they don't even have your most recent bout.
Well, they do. They was a Fight Facts that I said I was trying to take over.
Okay.
Yeah. No, so that's and that's what we were referring to. You know, I think that BoxRec does a great job at keeping up for the most part with fights. It's those rankings and all that stuff that it's like
terrible.
What do you guys like? I feel like they play like Russian roulette or dice with it, and it's like this one. I remember one day, my manager Trinidad was so excited because he sends me a picture, a screenshot, and I think they had ranked me at like number. I was already 1 in the U.S. I've been listed at 1 in the U.S. for the longest time, but on the overall, I had gone up to like 2 or 3, and I called it. I said, watch somebody make a phone call, and I'm gonna be shorter on that list in a second. 24 hours later, they moved me down.
Oh,
man. Where did you get moved down to?
Number
to 4,
right?
Yeah.
Oh.
I got moved down to number 4, and I was just like, whatever. Like, again, I don't care because at the end of the day, you're not the one going to get me my belts.
Literally.
So you can have me ranked at 100. I could care less as long as the sanctioning bodies that have the main belts are acknowledging me. I'm good to go.
So you're number 2 of 3 sanctioning bodies.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? The one that has me ranked the least is the WBC, and I'm their Latin Intercontinental Champion.
Doesn't even make sense how that happens. That doesn't even.
And we
make
fought
sense.
for 7 months to get that on the rankings.
Oh,
7 months of me being their champion to get on the rankings.
Yeesh.
That's ridiculous that you're not number 2 at least on there.
So when the WBC makes statements of we support women's boxing so much that we're not going to do sanctioning fees, I'm like, awesome, I love you, appreciate that for you, but then follow it up with really showing true care by doing the simplest thing is updating your rankings.
Yeah.
They don't update, none of the sanctioning bodies update their rankings like that. They update men's boxing gets updated like this, but women's boxing gets updated you're lucky if it's every 3 to 4 months.
That's crazy. That's
on actuality, 5-6 months they start changing their rankings.
Why do you think that's the case? Why do you think they take
I just think
long?
they don't care enough.
It's like a lack of care, lack of focus.
I don't think that they care enough, man. I think that they put up fronts and stuff. Now I'm really never going to get tired of shot. No, but I think that they put up these fronts of trying to care, and I think that some of them are in the right place, some hearts, but these are big corporations.
Their money's not where their mouth is, you know what I mean? People hate on Jake Paul, but at least he's doing what he says, you know what I mean?
Staying true to his word.
Exactly. So it's a lack of effort and care, and I think that even like some of the smaller sanctioning bodies, you know, you have the WIBA, that I wanted that belt for the longest time because the WIBA might not be one of the sanctioned belts for like in the undisputed, unified, and stuff like that. But the WIBA has been around forever, and it's the women's international belt. So for me, it was a belt that it was very special to my heart until I realized the back end. I'm like, bro, first of all, you right now if you look at WIBA, I think, and the only reason they moved me up was because I fought this last champion, Chris Namus, the fight before last. That's the only reason he moved me up. But for the longest time, I was like number 19 on his list.
What did you know what you
like? What?
Do you know what you are now on that list?
Number 2.
No, on his. Oh yeah, right.
WIBA, sorry.
On his list, I'm probably still like number 12 or 10.
I was gonna say like 12 or 10. Yeah.
I'm like, first of all, who are these other women? They're not even boxing anymore. Like, because you realize, and even for the smaller sanctionings, you realize like they might be a team, but they have one boss.
Yeah.
And that one boss is the creator of that list. And how he chooses to rank that list is completely up to him. There's no standards. It's my standard.
It's not
I'm the president of this
impartial.
sanctioning body,
Exactly.
so I decide what the list is. And you're like, okay, I don't want to fight for your belt no more, because there's no point. Because if I offer you $1,000 to sanction this fight, and I win, I just bought that belt.
Yeah,
I bought that belt
You lose
because
that
I went from number 10 to number 1 because I paid you $1,000 when nobody else wanted to. I don't roll with that. I don't need decoration belts.
Literally.
Like I don't. So
Literally.
just sign me up for the real thing.
Well, now that you're number 2 and 3 of the sanctioned bodies, I mean, a title shot's inevitable at this point, which is great for you.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, they really can't deny you much longer. I mean, who else are these other girls gonna fight at this point?
Yeah,
You know,
that's what I'm saying.
Number 2 in all the titles, and that's what it comes. You get that type of win streak, and you're just building your name up and building your name up and building your name up. Eventually, even doesn't matter what Boxrec has to say anymore, because
yeah.
your work speaks for itself. When people
Exactly.
actually do a second of research, they'll see that it's undeniable that you're there and you're.
And that's why like I always say, you know, I don't go out there and get angry about these things. I sit back, I put in the work, and I stay patient. Like, I know, look, at the end of the day, and you being a faith as well, you understand this so well, it's like, when God opens these doors, can no man shut them.
Exactly.
At all.
Be stopped. Yeah.
So, he's opening these doors. I know he's opening these doors. So, I'm just sitting back like, okay, you fight God. Like, go ahead. Like, he's going to open that door. And everybody that tries to close it is going to feel real stupid because he's not going to allow them to close it. So
Exactly.
I know my title shot's coming. I just sit back and I say, it'll come. It's cool. That's fine.
Mark, I'm going to just drop a verse like it just came to my head, but Mark 11:24, it says, whatever you ask for in prayer, if you believe it, it has been done.
Amen.
So if you believe what you're asking for in prayer and you believe it's going to happen, which you do,
that's why I always say, and I always say that. I always say it's already done. Yeah, it's already been written.
Exactly.
It's already been written.
One at a time. So we're looking forward to a big 2025 in that regard for sure.
Which belt do you see you getting the first title shot in? Is there anything that you like have a prediction for? That
Like realistic compared to your own?
I think it'd be the Emma Kozin fight. If that doesn't work out, because I'm hearing that there's some promotional issues with her and Queensberry and stuff like that. I don't want to get into too much details on it because I don't like to speak on what I don't know. But I know that there's issues on that end. So I'm like, but can we figure it out so that we can fight? Like, I know you guys are having issues, but I'm not. Like, let's go. So if they can get past that stuff, that would definitely be it. But if not, man, I'm willing to fight for the interim with Cecilia. Like, I'm willing for that, you know. Look, there's also she just won the IBF, and I don't remember what other belt, O'Shea Jones. I recently got a clip. She had actually called me out after one of her OTX fights. Listen, she's just got those 2 belts. Let me get my belt, and then we can go play. Like, because the problem is, and this is where I say, we got to make the money make sense. We've been offered some fights on that side. The money has not made sense. Not for an Olympian. And now it's still not going to make sense for someone with world title shots, with world title belts, I mean. So I want the fight, but I also need it to make sense, because if we continue devaluing ourselves and taking, take this couple grand for these world title fights, then we're never going to see the numbers we want to see.
Jake Paul, where you at?
Because then the other promoters know, she took this much for that world title, let's offer her this much. So I can't. If I devalue myself to just get the belt, I'll never make a penny in this sport.
You basically get punished for taking less than what you deserve at this point. They take advantage of it. They're like,
and I always say, look, I'm willing to compromise, but I'm not willing to get suckered. Don't get me wrong, because I already have to deal with that the whole first half of my career. I didn't get paid for any of those fights. I didn't get I went through that already.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there anymore. You're not gonna keep playing with me. I got a fight
Yeah.
offer the other day for like I didn't even mention the names or anything like that, but it was like a $3,000 purse, and I was like, okay, put a 1 in front of that. Let's play. But y'all not about to come at me at 10-1, number 2 in the world for $3,000.
Yeah, it's
Who did you what? Like I'm not, you know. So and I advocate to not for anyone else not to take that. Don't do that. Do not devalue yourself like that, you know. So when they get their money right, I'm excited for a showdown with her. I think it's gonna be a sick fight. I know it will be. But we gotta line all that stuff up. So my belief, and my team already knows this. My belief is she's got her belts. Let me get mine, and then we unify her. We go for undisputed together.
Go for undisputed.
Yeah,
that's
like
something
we're
that
gonna
we've
clash.
seen
We're gonna clash no matter what. Like I got you, girl. We gonna fight. But we gotta make it make
I've
sense.
got something I'm curious about, especially if you being very into the women's scene as well. Who do you think's the best female boxer of all time?
So the reason I advocate myself is because I'm still not at my peak, and I already see where I'm at, what I've done, how I have fought, who I've become, and who I'm becoming, and I just know that I'm not like these girls. I'm not like what they've seen. I'm not, you know, we're not on the same level when it comes to my wit, my smarts, my ring generalship, my IQ. You know, we're not the same. You know, so I think that everybody's been the greatest until you get in front of me. And then now you get in front of me, and it's gonna be a different story. So, I put that on me. But when it comes to my favorites, I always have had Amanda Serrano at the top of the list. Just because, and not even just the fighting aspect. I think the warrior aspect. Like Amanda Serrano has literally proven I'll die in this ring, and that respect that I have for her is just it's surreal. So I list her always at the top. I admire her very, very much. But I know what I bring to the table is incredibly different.
Of course. We've never seen a female fighter have the power that Serrano had either. I mean, that knockout ratio, like, that's not something you see every day.
And I always say it because, like, with women, you don't see a lot of knockouts, too, because, bro, women have babies. You trying to knock out somebody that's meant to make a human. Women don't get knocked out easy, bro. They just don't. They just don't. They don't get knocked out easy.
Yeah. And you see all the fights, they're always complete brawls. They're always very entertaining. I mean, fight of the year type.
Yeah, Amanda
fights.
knows no other speed than forward. Like she I'll take 20 shots, but I'm gonna get 45. What? Okay. Like
complete power shots, complete explosiveness, and as you've seen, even in your bouts as well, we see there's real fight-changing power in your ability as well, and I feel that could definitely separate you from the competition at your weight class for sure. So hopefully those title fights happen soon, and hopefully you don't keep getting blackballed and stalled out. A lot of great fights have happened as of late, so it must have inspired you to really get into the scene of fighting outside of just competing. What did you think of the recent fights with Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury?
I think I spent a lot of money. But it was super worth it, man. Super worth it. I love the fights. Usually all these fights, like, man, DAZN just takes all my money. Because I'm just such a boxing fan. I'll just be like, yeah, you know, it's only 70, it's only 100, it's only, and then you look, you're like, oh my god, how much money did I spend this year in boxing? No, for real, it's ridiculous. Besides the DAZN subscription that's up there as well, and you're like, man. But nah, all the fights are worth it. They've been some really good matches. Obviously the Fury and the Usyk one was a lot of fun, but I already knew who was gonna win that. You know?
Yeah, me too.
Like, and I love Fury again. Like, I'm just such a fan of the sport and all these fighters, so I just love great fights. Like, I feel like that's like that turkey mentality. Like, I just want to see the best fights.
Right.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it because it's just exciting. It's fun for everybody.
So, not just fighting inside the ring, but when it comes to fighting outside the ring, I know you have a non-profit.
We're working, it's called Female Fight Force, F3. I was really inspired recently in the last few months being in law enforcement and learning just how bad the statistics are. Again, like I was explaining before, one thing is to know it, another thing is to see statistics on paper and be like, wow, this is just even worse than you'd imagine. You know, people don't realize. So I saw a need for not just the training, because I have a lot of friends that are phenomenal trainers and they teach women's self-defense classes and things like that, but I saw a need and a gap where it was like these women are still even intimidated to do that. We launched the first one a couple months ago, and it was a complete success. It was 4 of us that led it. for elite trainers, for women, for badasses, for just amazing souls, that we got together and we put our brains together, made a great script for how the day was going to go. Obviously, I got with my boys that do self-defense classes, did my research, put in all that work, put everything together. And yeah, we had 45 women come out to that event.
Oh, wow.
Wait list of 15 after that. And
Yeesh.
still till this day getting calls where people are like, hey, we want you to come teach us at our company. Hey, we want you to come do this.
That's
We'll fly
awesome.
you guys out. This, and I'm like, oh my god, that's really dope. So I knew it was needed. I just didn't realize how successful it'd be. But it was everything that we could have ever wanted it to be.
And
It's
what
pretty
was the
dope.
story that made you decide to make it a non-profit, not just a regular business?
So I was already working on a nonprofit because we do so much giving back. I own Level Up Boxing in Broward County and Fort Lauderdale, and we just do so many nonprofit events as a whole. You know, like, and it's out of pocket. We take that hit or we raise funds, but we invest a lot of money into the community, into helping fighters. We sponsor fighters. Like, there's just so many events that we do that I was like, we need a nonprofit to kind of help balance it all out, you know? So I started doing that, working on the paperwork, working on everything for a nonprofit. And then, like I said, man, God placed this in our hearts, and I was just like, oh, this falls under that too? Oh, great, let's do it, you know? So it's kind of just fall all under the umbrella. Everything that we do for the community that's nonprofit is under that nonprofit because it is nonprofit.
Exactly.
So everything we do is completely free. When we do our school drives, our book bag giveaways, you know, all the stuff, the Christmas toy drives, everything that we do, even our Christmas toy drive, like I love Toys for Tots. It's amazing. It's an amazing concept. But for us, it was like, how do we directly affect the kids in our community? So I got with local shelters in Fort Lauderdale. So we got local. We did what we had to do to figure out those relationships. We built them. And then we know that we're literally taking them the toys. Like, we're not shipping them off to be shipped somewhere. Like, we physically get to see these kids get those toys. You know, and it's one of those rewarding things because it's like we don't always see rewards for what we do. It's you give. You shouldn't give to get anything in return. But those are those moments where you're like, oh man, like this is worth it so much. The same thing with the women's event, you know. It's an immediate reward of knowing, man, I really changed that person's life, and that's that reward is just knowing like we equipped them with these tools that they needed that they didn't have before, and that's so big. So it's like we live in a vicious world, so stay savage. You gotta know how to bring that out when you have to bring that out. So it was a mentality thing. A lot of it was changing these mentalities of how you act on the street, how you walk around, you know, and just keeping sure that everybody understands, like, you got to be aware out there, man. Like, so again, it was just teaching on all levels, not just the martial arts. We did a phenomenal job with that, but it was also a mentality change, and we've talked so much about that during this interview, just mindset. That's life. Your mindset is life.
Going back to inside the ring, you have an amazing team that you've stayed with for quite a bit of time.
My last 3-4 amateur fights were with my coach now, Johnny. And then right after my first pro fight was when I got with Anne-Marie, who's my strength and conditioning coach. So both of them, like, I just consider them the best trainers in the world. And I know a lot of people say that about their coaches and stuff. And I'm like, cool. But like, nah, my guys. But nah, man, Johnny has an amazing ability to teach boxing IQ, and I think what's so special about him is that a lot of these boxing coaches, especially the old heads, man, it's like their way, and this is how they've always done it, and this is the only way it's done, and you're like,
closed-minded.
But yeah, and it's so like it's gross. Like you can't make me into the fighter you want to make me. You got to make me into the best fighter I can be.
One size doesn't fit all.
And exactly. So you see them, and they train all the fighters the same way with the same stuff, and it's like he's not like that. Like he treats all his fighters so different, and I'm the same way when I train fighters as well. So we have such a good chemistry with that, where it's like he'll show me something, and if he realizes that that's not working for me, okay, we're gonna change that up a little bit. Let's do it this way instead. Instead of just trying to drill me to do it his way every time. No, if it doesn't work for me, it doesn't work for me. Maybe my hips don't switch like that. Like, you know, so we find what works best, and he's just taught me amazing boxing IQ. You know, I attribute a lot of my IQ to the work that I've had with him. And then with strength and conditioning, man, I have Anne-Marie Sakurato. She's actually, not only has she spent the last 3 decades mastering strength and conditioning, the science behind it, but she was a multiple world champion, you know, so she has that boxing accolades, but then also the strength and conditioning accolades, you know, so she's got a lot of athletes. She's actually Joy Boy, Justin Ibarola from BKFC, and he's ranked number 1 now, you know, and she's his strength and conditioning trainer too. You'll see her in his corner for, that's my boy, man. That's my boy. We're in the same stable, you know, so it's like, we know we have the best, and we always tell people, like, we don't gatekeep our coaches, and I don't gatekeep her, and yet the lack of these fighters willing to invest in their careers, they'll go out and buy a car, but they won't go and win and pay their coach.
Oof.
Are you crazy? The first thing I do when I win is put aside my money for my next session, like for my next camp. I don't at all for a second take for granted their worth. And so it's like, I already know I'm paying less than the average person because you love me and you got my back. But then my job is to make sure that you're always going to get paid, you know, and the more money I make, the more money you're going to make. So it's like, I understand training is an investment I have to make. I have a nutritionist now. I've had her for about 4 or 5 camps. She's been a game changer. She's Megan Murphy. She's under Megan Murphy Nutrition. Dude, this girl, like, she slid into my DMs in the best way possible and was like, I want to work with you, this and this and this. And I was like, man, you seem great, and I've heard about you, and I know that with your work, your girl just not at world champion money right now, you know? And, like, I'm a cop, and we all know that don't make that much money. So I was just like, I'd love to work with you, but I can't really afford it right now. And she was just like, listen, let's talk about what you can do. We'll go fight by fight. We'll see what we can do. She worked with me, and that's why, like, I'm so loyal to her, because not only is she amazing at what she does, but to me, I feel like she made that investment in me, and she still does to this day. You know, I don't take my team for granted. I'm not entitled. I'm not entitled to them. I'm not entitled to their time. They don't have to work with me. So to me, it's like, whether I pay you or not, I appreciate every second you spend with me. I just have a really elite team that I'm super grateful for, and it's like, we're just getting to the top together. Being coachable and understanding, I had to surrender what I thought I knew to what this licensed and educated person really knows. And if she's telling me I need to eat more, I need to do this, I just got to do it and shut up and just do it. So I fought her the first camp, and that's why I didn't go too well. And it was my fault. Because I wasn't being coachable, because I was still being stubborn, and I was like, ain't no way I'm going to lose weight off of 2,000 calories. Like, you're crazy. You know? And she still worked me up there, because we went from 16 to 18 and we kept going up so that my body adjusted instead of, you know, soaking it up. But the worst mistake fighters make is they're off camps, bro. They gain 20, 30 pounds off camp, and it's like, what are you doing to your body? So being with her and going up gradually and understanding all those things, like, I'm just fueled all the time. Like, I have all the energy I need. I get through my training sessions, work, promotion, this, that. Yeah, because now I'm eating properly. I didn't know what that meant. Literally. You know? So it's been pretty cool, man. Got a sick team, and yeah, being coachable it's huge. You can't fight your team. It's like, what are they there for?
Literally.
You got to believe in them the way they believe in you. Trust them to do their jobs.
Do you feel that people underestimate that element of the sport of fighting? They always are so focused on the fighter that they're not realizing that there's an entire team with them as well that don't get their props.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I love when these places and these sanctioning bodies or anybody at all does, like, coach of the year, or when they make the coach a belt too. Like, dude, those coaches deserve everything as well. They deserve it all the recognition. That's why every time I always brag about them, I shout them out every single time I can, because it's like, yeah, and I want people to know, like, you can get a slot with them. They might not have many, but every now and then they're opening up slots. Use them, especially for local fighters. There's so many fighters I love and respect down here that have been taking L's they shouldn't be taking. And I'm looking at them like...
Do you feel it's because they have more ability, or they're being put in the wrong fights?
No, I think that they're not picking the team properly. Yeah. I think they're not picking their teams properly, and they're not investing where they have to invest, because I've also, on the other side of that, seen the opposite happen. You know, I've seen fighters that didn't have it and started having it, and all of a sudden their success rate goes up. Well, because you locked in the right team. February 1st at Extreme Action Park. It'll be our first card, Broward County. Best pro box show you guys have had here. Next Level Promotions. Just like that, the level is going to be LVL_. That is the IG. And then my personal IG is Elia, ELIA _Soulsnatcher. That's where you guys can find me. On my page, personal page, you can also find my coaches thrown all over there. But yeah, I'm super excited for the show, and I'm even more excited to have you guys out there, man. I super appreciate it. Fighting Yo.
And you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, all at Max Calandrillo. Make sure to check out the Fighting Yo, also known as Fighting Yo. Change that part where I said duh. And B&B Studios.
Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Jack. You can find me on Instagram at jack.is.a.writer. Make sure you follow our cameraman at Arm Studios. And if you like the content, make sure you punch the like button in the face. Subscribe, share, the whole shebang. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you guys next time.
Why do you have to slurp the mic?
Why can't you just go with it?
Yeah, why can't you just go with it?
Yeah, literally.
You know?
So with you being a promoter, she's laughing. I was fine. You guys saw I was fine. She couldn't give me a straight
That was
face.
so good. You were
We're
so
keeping
good
this
though.
in.
He was just like,
We're
so.
keeping
I was
this
like,
in.
oh my
We're
god.
keeping this in.